which that was even controversial, you know. They really didn't want to let me out to go home, but they did let me go home for Christmas for the one day, spend Christmas with my folks, and that alone, that was so amazing too. You know, I was telling my folks, you know, my mother, I said, you know, they wouldn't let me out to go shopping or anything, and this and that. And of course, she didn't have Amazon or any of that crap back then, you know. That you know, I didn't have a chance to go out and get them anything, and you know, my mom said, you know, you're giving us the best gift you could possibly. You're giving us the best gift you could possibly ever give us. And that hit hard. So anyway, you know, I make it back. I make it back to treatment, and I remember giving my fourth step as a self-awareness report, and there was another guy. I mean, I'm down to my last couple of days in treatment. If I don't get this stuff done, I'm not going home. They're going to make me stay another week. I don't want to stay another week. I want to go home, and I spoke up before Gene ever got the door shut. He walked in. I spoke up because there was another guy I was going to give a report, and I wanted to make sure I got mine in first. So I spoke up, and Gene, before he even got the door shut, he stopped. Right, he stopped halfway. He didn't even shut the door. He just stopped, dead quiet now, dead quiet in the room. And then he slowly shuts the door and says, "Well, seems like Jeff's got something he'd like to share with us this morning." So I attempt to give my self-awareness report, and then self-awareness report was a list of your assets and the defects of character. Defects of character, I seem to do, you know, I could come up with a lot of defects of character. I could not come up with the assets. I don't know what an asset is, you know. I didn't understand what an asset was, you know. But I knew what defects were. But I didn't know all of them, as evidently, because when we started the session, and I started my defects of character. I put out, and what I thought I seen in myself, and Gene Lowe spoke up, and he says, "Jeff, is that all you see in yourself?" I go, "Well, yeah, that's pretty much all I can come up with, Gene." And he says, "Well, how about we go around the group and see what they see in you?" And I said, "You know, fine, let's go around the groups." We went around the group, and they didn't see anything more than what I seen, you know. So I thought, well, see, I know what I'm talking about. And Gene got back to Gene and said, "Well, you got the whole group manipulated, Jeff." You know what? You know, he started. He says, you know, then he started naming off a few more defects of character, and I, you know, my walls went up. My walls. I was like, you know, f you, you know, f you, you know, do whatever you got to do. I'm done. I've done everything I know how to do, Gene. You know, trying to beat me down to where I don't think I know anything, and I got to learn all this stuff all over, new stuff, you know, and you know, I just didn't understand it at all. It didn't make no sense to me. Like I didn't know anything at all, and really I didn't. And so anyway, he says, "You want me to write it down on the blackboard, on the board up there, the whiteboard with the markers?" I said, "I don't give a shit, Gene. Do whatever you want to do. You know, just whatever. You know." So he gets up, puts my name in the middle of that board, circles it, and he starts naming off all these defects of character, coming up with new ones now that I never heard of before. Putting them all on that board, and he says, "Well, why don't we go around the group now, Jeff, and see what they see in you?" And so we did that, and they started coming up with a bunch of new ones. Holy crap! I felt like I was about 2 inches tall. I mean, it just knocked me to my knees. It just floored me. Unbelievable emotions I went through over that, and I remember they all got up for a smoke break. At that time, they could still smoke in the Independence Center in the basement or anywhere in the rooms too. And I sat there by myself and I cried. And it was very, very, I mean, that was really the turning point for me. That was the main turning point for me. That I could, that I'm feeling all these feelings now that, you know, I covered up for years. I haven't experienced any, I haven't let myself mature You know, and like they say, we stop growing from the time we start getting into our addiction, and I believe it. You know, I believe it wholeheartedly. And so anyway, so that was actually, you know, I became willing to actually, seriously willing to start listening to you guys and the people that have come before me now. And I went back out and I joined them for smoke break and told Gene that I loved him and that was a big thing too. You know, tell somebody I loved them. Didn't do that too much, if at all, before this. And the only time I ever talked to God is when I was in trouble or hanging on to that porcelain God. You'll never do this again, you know. So I mean, everything started changing for me at that point. And so anyway, I went. I got to go home. I got to go home when he said I had to come back that next week and do my fifth step with him. Or I did my fifth step with Dennis Rock. I did my fifth step with Dennis Rock. I was able to come back and do that. And plus, I got into aftercare after that too. And I just loved it, you know. After I became willing to work this program, and I mean, something just clicked in me, you know. Well, it was kind of a spiritual awakening at that point already for me. Well, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through, you know, and that's where I was at that point. I was really amazed, you know, that I could feel the way I'm feeling, and I'm not getting high, you know. And so then I get out, I go back to work, and now I found something. I feel like I found this gold mine now, right? I think everybody needs to know about this. So I'm going around trying to, I'm telling these guys I've been drinking with, in Quebecor, buying a keg with them every other weekend, and of course you didn't want to hear it, I said, man, I tell you what, you guys, I'm telling you, you got to. Seriously, I mean, this is some good. You don't have to get high. You don't believe the feelings you get out of working this program. They didn't want to hear it. I remember I run into a guy in the bathroom that one day. I was after going to meetings for a month or so, and he just asked me. He says, "Jeff, you still going to them classes?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm still going to them classes." Bill, I think his name was. He said, "Well, I didn't think you were alcoholic. I just thought you drank too much." Well, yeah, that's what we do. We drink too much. And so anyway, I mean that mentality, and then but then I didn't have anybody really that I could relate to where I worked until another guy from one other area. I heard he was in treatment. So then I'd gone and started visiting him in treatment and sharing with him what I'd been through and working with him a little bit, and I'm all excited, and I'm going to have somebody else that, I'm working with that I can talk to now about this and that. And then somebody told me that one day they seen him in the bar drinking a pitcher of beer, and that floored me. That floored me. I took it personal, and I said, how in the world can he do that after all we've been through talking about, and how in the world can he do that? And I almost got drunk over that. That was earth shattering for me. So I've learned. Of course, I'm starting my journey now. I haven't learned a lot of this stuff. Working with others, but I do have a pretty good defense now because I've got a pretty strong spiritual belief. Step 2 and 3. I believed in God as my higher power, and I knew He could do for me what I can't do for myself, and I honestly believe that. And that alone kept me sober for a long time in the beginning. That was my defense. Anytime I found myself in a bad place or uncomfortable or thought I might, use or, I'd start praying about it, and God help me through this, and He always does. He'll always give me an exit. I believe that to my very core today. That no matter what situation or whatever I'm in, my higher power will give me an exit if I'm looking for it. But he'll let me make the choice. So I learned about having power of choice. I never knew I had a choice. I always thought I didn't know I had a choice to not drink, but I didn't have any defense. I didn't know how to act. Again, I didn't know how to live with it, and I didn't know how to live without it. But now I'm following a program that's teaching me how to live without it, and a new design for living, and I'm loving the shit out of this. I mean, I've got this. I'm on this pink cloud, and things are changing for me, and I'm actually seeing these changes that I'm praying for now. And other people. Of course, it wasn't the other people that were changing; it was me. But anyway, the relationships were changing, and I'm getting along with people at work quite a bit better because I'm able to let it go. I mean, it took me a while. All this stuff took me a little while. It didn't happen overnight by any means. And I'd have trouble with people at work. Working shoulder to shoulder with these guys, and especially when they, knew how sensitive I was or how to push my buttons, and that I'm not drinking now, and there was a couple, two or three of them that just loved pushing my buttons because I'd anger really quick, and they liked watching that reaction. So I go talk to my sponsor about it. And I had a few sponsors. Randy was my first one, biker dude. Always, of course, I went in looking for the biggest, toughest guy in there, and I thought I won for my sponsor, and he was pretty tough. Hard of gold, but he was tough. But anyway, I go complain to him. Now these guys are getting under my skin at work, and he says, "Well, how come you're giving them so much power? What are you talking about, Randy? It's power. You're giving them power. You're giving them power over your feelings. If they're making you angry, they got power. They got control of your feelings." I said, "Bullshit." Of course, this was pissing me off too. And he'd say, "Thanks for the power." And so, and it made so much sense after a while, if these people are getting under my skin, and I mean, I'm letting them, I've got a choice on whether I let them let them in, get under my skin or not. And so there was all these tools that I'm learning over the years, and right off the, the first 6 months to a year were just really huge. And so anyway, I'm, I, oh, where am I going? I'm starting to draw a blank. Anyway, I continue to go to meetings. I'm working third shift at this factory, and I worked there another 2 years. Well, no, I worked there I worked there 2 years drinking. I worked there another 17 years, I guess, sober. And I was making as many meetings as I could, but I got away from that too. I got to be honest about that. When I was working second shift and that, I'd go a long time without going to meetings. I was getting into environments I didn't need to be getting into. I mean, I'd go a month without a meeting, and I don't advise that for anybody. You get out of it what we get out of it what we put into it. So my sobriety was definitely in jeopardy, but I stayed sober again, praying and using the second and third step more than anything, and I didn't do an honest to God fourth step. I did that quick self awareness report and treatment, but I didn't do a fourth step until I was out of treatment for a couple of years, and another fifth step, and try to keep up with the maintenance steps now. But I probably wouldn't hurt to do another fourth step. I So anyway, I'm going to meetings. And I'm still working in this factory, but I tell you what, I just um, you know there's just no end to it. I'm keeping a job. Now I'm keeping a good. I'm making it to work every day. I'm in good standing. I'm getting promoted. I go back to school on the GI Bill after I got out of the Army. I did have that, so I went back to school on GI Bill. I start working out. Um, I just started. And it was funny because when I was in treatment, when they were telling me, when they started talking about abstinence, from drinking, just total abstinence, and that's hard for me to understand to swallow that too. But I said, what am I going to do with all my extra time? Crime. That's all I do is drink and party. What am I going to do with all that spare time I'm going to have now? Well, I filled it up really quick. I went way overboard with things. In fact, I'm stressing now. I'm going back to school and trying to work full time and working out and I don't know. It's probably a few. Took up fishing again. I hadn't been fishing sober ever, I started going, getting back into that again, and I just had all these things I'm filling my life up with, and a little overwhelming, but I mean, I'm really feeling good about, I'm feeling I got that self worth going now. I hadn't felt good about myself. I feel like a grown up again, or for the first time, you know, and all these great feelings, and then but then reality starts setting in. Have problem with somebody at work, or relationship problems, or somebody passes away in the family, or whatever, or friends, and health problems. Then now I'm on this journey of living life like normal people do. And I don't know how to deal with it very good. I'm having a kind of a tough time. Everything was going really smooth for a while, and then it kind of fell apart. I didn't get drunk. I didn't use. I went through a lot of dry drunks, but never took a drink. And then having all these reality problems pop up all the time. And that's what I kept hearing all the time. Jeff, that's reality. That's reality. Well, reality sucks. And I just had a hard time accepting the fact, that this is the way, reality is. And I mean, but acceptance and expectations, I lived on that for a long. I still live with that. I still got, as current sponsor I got suggested I look that over again, and just recently. And thank God for these people in my life today. Thank God for you people, for sure. And but and it's amazing today. I can go anywhere in the country and around the world. I haven't gone to another meeting outside of the country. I've been outside of the country. Been back over to Germany. I've been back over to Europe twice now. Been to Canada a few times. Been to Mexico. And I've never had a lot of money. I've never been in a real good place financially or anything. I mean, this is all, having friends down there or relatives or whatever. And I got these friends that I run into at a concert over in Germany, at a Who concert. I went to a big concert, the Who concert in Nuremberg there, and ran into these German dudes, and I started selling them alcohol and cigarettes. And we're still friends today, It's 40 some years later. And anyway, they come over here to visit us first, then they invited me back over there, so I went back over and they showed me around and gave us a place to stay, he'd sleep on the couch and give us the bedroom. So this is in Germany. I mean, so it's really, my life is just really super amazing compared to what it could have been, or and as a result, I'm getting older. I just turned 63 years old here not too long ago. And I've got old people's problems. I'm dealing with high blood pressure and arthritis and carpal tunnel and knee problems, but it's all good. I mean, that's going to happen. And just living one day at a time. I get through it. And I continually pray. Asking my higher power to help me through each day. I've just kind of gotten back in. I get away from it. I get complacent. Like I said, when I was working at the factory, I went complacent for a good couple of years. Anyway, I actually joked about the Spring Fling being my home group. One meeting a year. And it wasn't too far from the truth. But I don't know why. It just my higher power kept me sober. Is all it was. And most of the people that I was hanging with understood where I was from, and they didn't push it. They accepted the fact that I didn't drink, so they never really shoved it in my face or anything, and that helped a lot too. But my quality went, spiraling way down, and so then, at one point I got real busy again. I started going to meetings, and I'm a meeting addict now. I'm going to 5 meetings a week, and hanging out with people after the meetings, and I just love that today. I mean, that's my whole life. That's pretty much my whole life. Uh, is I'm on a few online groups, this one and a couple others, and this one's pretty much one of the major ones, the main ones. And again today, I just applied for Social Security today. I've gotten older, and to the point to where I'm not where I thought I would be. I've been going through some issues with that. As far as being in a position, but for most people to be in a position to retire. But of course, and it's just I'm just not where I thought I would be or where I'd like to be, but I'm where I'm supposed to be. My higher power gives me what I need to get through each day. He puts the right people in my life to keep me centered, and I'm really pretty happy today. I get a little, I'm not real crazy about winter time. But you think being a Nebraska boy, and this would be my 63rd winter, I'd be used to it by now. No, not used to it. Of course, right now it's 40 degrees. It's not really winter for Nebraska. Anyhow, I'm just really grateful that, thanks Marilyn for asking me to do this. And I'm hoping I can get this uploaded somehow tonight and be able to share it here in the morning. So, I don't know. I'm just really grateful that I'm where I'm at in life today, and I got what I need today. I've got shelter, I got clothes, I got food. I got friends. I got 2 cats that are tearing my shit up, but I love them to death. As soon as they grow up, I'm going to buy new furniture. So anyway, wish you all the best, and thank you for listening and letting me share.